see what we want to see because that's what we have seen? Are we drawing down upon our memories of beauty and transposing those into our experience, or are they there?
Do you mean that people are expecting heaven to be such a beautiful place because that's what they've conjured up in their mind, or
Yes.
from folklore and
Yes.
things like that?
Well, and all the iconography that's ever been we have witnessed through a random selection of faiths, or it doesn't matter what it might be, but we have had heaven presented to us. And in the Christian Judaism thing, we have Peter, a man, standing at a gate, and he's holding a book, and then we go in, and there's seraphims. I'm not sure what the difference in a seraphim and a cherub is, but there are those. Or in the Muslim faith, there's this theoretical thing about a number of virgins that are sitting there waiting for you too. So we have a vernacular that describes heaven. I think the question that the lass may be asking is, can it be something completely indescribable?
Dr. Michael Newton wrote several books on this very subject. He was actually a very well-known American hypnotherapist.
Hypnotherapist, yeah.
Yes, and in his work over many, many years, dealing with this many patients, he was able to access the spirit world. And in a nutshell, what I'm trying to get at is through his dialogues and his case studies with these patients, and what he was able to ascertain was, to answer your question, it's whatever you want it to be. So when we do leave this world and cross over to the other side, some may expect a beautiful Greek temple, some may expect a beautiful forest, others may be looking for the clouds, they may be looking for their home, their childhood home. Whatever heaven is in your mind, the answer is yes. That's what's waiting for you. Go ahead.
Sorry. There's she's an orthopedic surgeon. She's called Mary Neal, and she's the author of 7 Lessons from Heaven. And her take on it is that she had a near-death experience where she did drown, and was, I suppose, clinically dead for 30 minutes while they tried to resuscitate her. Wow. And she said in that 30 minutes she actually journeyed to heaven. And it's not, people haven't asked her exactly what is heaven like. They said that when she does her conferences and her speeches, which is, both on a spiritual and a medical level, because she's a doctor, that there are 2 major reasons why people line up to talk to her afterwards. Firstly, one of them is that a lot of people want to share their out-of-body experiences, their near-death experiences. They want to see
and
whether...
be acknowledged.
Yeah, they correlate, or there's similarities, that kind of thing. And then the second is they want to actually be reassured that there is life after death.
Yep.
So she doesn't necessarily talk about what the experience was like in heaven, as in what did it look like. The majority of people want to know or confirm that is there life after death, and when you do get to heaven, do people look like they did when they were alive? So I think one of the examples she gave is that her young son was killed in a car accident, but the car impacted him on death, and he was mangled in the wreckage of the car. So she saw him as a young, vibrant boy, how she had remembered him and last seen him, although he was slightly older apparently, but not as this mangled piece of flesh really that resembled her
the
son.
Physical body.
Yeah. So she said it was quite interesting, from that point of view. I tried to actually download the book to read a little bit more about it. Yeah. But she said, when they say, is there actually a heaven? She said, my experience delivers a definite yes. Yep. We will know each other after death, and we absolutely see our loved ones. Soon after leaving my body, I was greeted by a group of beings who were simultaneously familiar and unfamiliar, which is what we touched on in the previous podcast. So
the jury's in.
Yeah.
Well, the
verdict's in.
To me, the part where you need, if you are to answer her question about is described to me a heaven, is that by definition I don't think it is possible, because the moment that you articulate something, you draw on language, and language is vulnerable and it means different things to different people. So I can say you're wearing a blue shirt, and everyone that's listening, or blouse, and everyone that's listening will have a different idea of what that blue is. And if you say you're going to the light, then it's either a spot or a glow or a sunset or a something. So I think, in a sense, the travesty and the tragedy is that the moment we try to describe something so potentially perfect, is that we don't have... We should stop and say, I can't tell you, because the moment I tell you, it will be not the way that you will hear it, and
or that's how it was for them,
that I'm
but not
using,
for you.
You will not understand it the same way that I understand
Correct.
it. So I'm going to kill you, and then you will find out.
Yeah, but I kind of agree with that, but then I don't, because I think, like some people's idea of heaven might be, a complete day full of vodka and laying on the beach and getting suntanned. That could be their heaven.
I knew I shouldn't have told you that.
Yeah, I mean, there's the spiritual connection, the vodka, but, what's to say that the information people have gathered about what heaven is actually like has not been kind of like an inherent thing that's been brought through the...
religion. And
or the centuries of people. When
stories.
back in the day, when... we lived on all the six senses that we've got, that psychic sense that was innate in everybody that we've lost over the centuries, thanks to the mobile phone. Oh, I can feel my phone ringing. No, it's not. It's on vibrate. But
put a smile on your face.
Yeah, well, it depends where the mobile phone is.
That's for another show.
Yeah. But so what I'm trying to say is that that idyllic sort of concept could have travelled through the hundreds and thousands of years and been reconfirmed every time somebody has had a near-death experience.
Yeah.
Yes. And sadly, though, it becomes scripture. It becomes writ in terms of the rules of all faiths, no matter what they are.
Yeah.
And the storytelling becomes gospel, and when it becomes gospel, it becomes dangerous, because it's no longer spiritual. It is, by definition, it has become the physical. That's why the paintings on the Sistine Chapel ceiling, or wherever else it might be, they are metaphors.
Yeah,
for what we aspire
for what we yes, because if you are a spiritual person, and I'm not, if you are a spiritual person, to be able to reside in that space, conjure that space, enjoy that space, which I'm sure the two of you both do. That I
don't know what he's getting at.
No. It's that if you can call up that access to the spirituality, then that, by definition, if it is a happy place, if it is an awe-inspiring place, if it is a sense of peace, if it is a sense of the senses rather than the descriptors, then that would be, one assumes, the state of heaven.
Yeah.
You sound like a real doubting Thomas, Brady. Well, there's no proof that it is what it is there? There's no proof either way. Unfortunately, for you and for me, we're not going to know until the heart stops and the soul travels up. No. But we've got a pretty good idea, I reckon.
I'll send you a Snapchat.
Yeah, I don't think it's full of dinosaurs and thunderbolts.
But if you want it to be, it can be.
But I think as I say, I think that the danger that we have is using descriptors which to be able to answer her question. You either, if you feel it, then the chances are that it will be a good feeling.
Yeah.
Do not describe it. It's not necessary. It's just the sense of peace. And
You're home.
Whatever that works for you.
Yeah.
Or else there's nothing.
I think it was Brian Wees. You might correct me if I'm wrong there, Claudia. But I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube, and there's a young boy who's about 10 who has a near-death experience, and he actually went to what he believes was hell. There was nothing nice about the place. It was dark, dismal. There was this constant ear-piercing noise that just was relentless and never stopped, to the point it tortured you. He said, I just wanted it to stop. I just wanted it to scream. Nothing grew, and all the rocks were kind of like the old, the sulfuric kind of smell, and what you get from the condensed, hardened lava from a volcano. Yeah. He said it was like that. There was no peace. It was relentless, and it was a terrible place to be at. And there have been other people that have talked about the same experience, going to hell. Yeah. So there's got to be something. There's one or the other.
Yep. I'd like to think you also have the opportunity to get the hell out of there if you need to.
Yes.
It's certainly got to be something.
Yes.
That I will go with you. Okay, we'll get onto the grub.
In our third segment, Spirits with Spirits, each week one of us brings a favorite beverage and we'll tell you a little about it. Then we'll have a chat about some of our favorite books, music, documentaries, and videos. By the way, folks, if you've got anything you'd like us to recommend, including a spirit, drop us a line at the Numinous Factor at hotmail.com or find us on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you.
Or any near-death experiences. If you've got any lovely, interesting stories to tell us, please do. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, and we have been getting quite a few already, but tell us more. Today, for a little bit of a change, I have brought in Black Sambuca.
Right. Well, there we go.
Everybody sits up straight now. I'd love some.
There you go. One for Ronnie.
Does this put hair on one's chest?
Oh, absolutely, or something.
So what's the story of Sambuca?
Now, the story of... Get mine here. I've got to have mine too. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Chin chin.
Chin chin.
I won't do it because you...
Okay.
Look at these darling little cups.
Black Sambuca differs from white Sambuca as its flavoring is predominantly infused with, don't laugh, the witch elderbush, and it's witch, W-I-T-C-H, so there you go.
Ooh, witchy Canadian.
Anise and licorice. Comparing white to black Sambuca, white Sambuca has more aromas and flavor of star anise. Black Sambuca comes from the Arabic word zamut, anise-flavored drink that arrived from the East in the 1800s at the port of Lazia in Rome. In 1851, the first commercial version of the drink was produced by Luigi Manzi. Sambuca is traditionally served with 3 coffee beans. I did not know that.
With 3?
3 coffee beans. I didn't know that because, yeah.
I knew that it was served with 1, but I didn't know it was served with 3.
Oh, there you go. The magic number 3. So there you go. Ronnie, have you got any books you'd like to promote?
Well, I did. I mentioned Mary Neal, and she was the author of 7 Lessons of Heaven, but also I wanted to mention Past Lives, Future Lives revealed by Dr. Bruce Goldberg. And we touched very briefly on hypnotherapy, and obviously this is to do with the power of the mind.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of a disclaimer that I wanted to mention at this point as well, because I think I made a bit of a boo-boo in one of the previous episodes. when we talked about things that you put on the altar for